This week, we'll talk about using a stylus and the Apple Pencil. We've been working with our fingers, but as we get into pencil and pen work, you'll find fingers are too big to work with the brushes in Procreate. So it's time we talked about a basic stylus and your ultimate tool, an Apple Pencil. If you look for a basic, cheap, capacitive stylus, you'll find many options out there. Tablets or phones pick up small changes in electricity from your fingers during a gesture. The device has electronics which figure out where that touch happens. A capacitive stylus is made of conductive materials that transmit the electricity signal with a smaller point than your fingers. The stylus I suggest avoiding are the rubber tip ones like this one, found often on free promotional pens. I find they have resistance. They bump around when drawing, when we want a smooth stroke. I prefer a mesh tip like this one. While slightly more expensive, these conduct well and are smooth on the surface of your tablet. There's also a fine tip stylus, which I've never gotten used to. In order not to scratch the tablet, these have small plastic pucks on the end. The puck does limit the angle, and even though it's clear, I find it hard to see through the plastic. On the expensive side, there are Bluetooth styli. Bluetooth styli transmit more data to the iPad than the capacitive touch does. While there are companies with Bluetooth stylus products for the iPad, and there are settings in Procreate for them, they all have been squelched by the premium product, the Apple Pencil. There are two versions of Apple Pencils. The Generation 1 is this round one. It has a charging port on the back you plug into your iPad. There's also a dongle for charging into a lightning cable. The second generation pencil is magnetic charging. You'll find this on newer iPads like my Pro. You snap it to the iPad magnetically on the flat surface. The flat surface also has a touch switch, which you can use with double taps to switch between tools. In Settings, go to Apple Pencil and you'll see the double tap features. If you adjust your grip often, this can be annoying, and I leave it off, but you can switch between tools using this feature. While we're here, I want to mention one more feature of Apple Pencil, Scribble. Scribble is Apple's handwriting recognition system. If you have an Apple Pencil and you turn Scribble on, you'll be able to handwrite text in any field you normally type in. For example, if you make a new layer in Procreate and rename it using the pencil, then you'll use Scribble to enter the name, not the keyboard. Make a squiggly line over the text, then write your label. If you want to use the keyboard but have Scribble turned on, use your finger to select Rename, not your stylus. There's also what I call the Scribble bug. A slider handle too close to a text field will activate Scribble instead of moving the slider. You'll only find the Scribble bug in Procreate in the color sliders in the palette. If you get a line instead of a slider moving, that's the Scribble bug. Either use your finger for the slider or write a value for the slider. Besides the position a basic stylus or finger gives, the Apple Pencil gives two more data points: the angle of the pencil relative to the iPad and the pressure extended on the tip. Procreate using both for each brush, but for different purposes. Pressure creates variations in opacity and size, those two sliders on the side of Procreate. An angle tilt creates a specific setting for a brush, usually a quick, light filling of an area. Let's look at three brushes and see how they use tilt and pressure. I'll take a blank canvas and set to Divine Charcoal with a 10% size and 100% opacity, and I'll set my color to black. I'll make a finger mark first for reference. Starting with light pressure, I'll make a line from left to right, slowly increasing pressure. The charcoal gets darker, but there's no other change. Releasing pressure makes the mark lighter. Making a quick mark, I get light on the ends and dark in the middle. On the bottom, I'll start with a heavy pressure and slowly lighten the pressure. Or I can do it the other way around, of light pressure and go darker as I go. If you use the pencil on the side of the tip, you'll get a lighter fill, though slightly bigger than the tip. I'm going to make another clean layer here. And now let's try this with the marker. And I'm going to use about 25% size here. And 100% opacity. First, I'll put my finger mark for a reference. Then with the Apple Pencil, a variation in pressure. This time, opacity stays set, but size changes as I increase pressure. Now let's try a quick mark left to right. And I'll do those vertical lines again to see the size change again. So I'll start heavy and make it lighter. I'll do that one more time. And then we'll do it the opposite way. I'll do light and go to heavy. Light and go to heavy. And then on its side, you can see I just get a very light shading here. Again, for light fills. Okay, make one more clean layer. And this time I'm going to use the oil brush. So let's go to oil. And let's set that to 15% size. And again, 100% opacity. And first a finger mark. So we have some idea what our finger would look like. And then we'll do the same thing with a variation in pressure. So I'll start light and go heavy, light, and then heavy, light, then a heavy. And you can see here we've got a size change and a bit of an opacity change at the same time. If I try a quick mark from left to right, you can see the differences again with the nice tapering on those lines. And I'll do the vertical lines to see the line change again. So I'll start heavy here and bring it up to light, heavy, light, and then we'll do light, heavy, light, heavy, and there you get it. On a side, again, we get a pretty light brush and a much smaller one, again, for light fills. All brushes are one of these with slight variations, and they're responding more like the natural medium. However, for some projects, not using the Apple Pencil gives you more control over your line. I wanted that control for the lessons up to this point, as the variation from the pencil would make the work more confusing. If you're going to get serious about drawing and painting, definitely invest in an Apple Pencil. If you're still thinking about it, can't afford one, or have an older iPad that doesn't use one, while you won't get the dynamic response of pressure or tilt, use a stylus when working with pencil and pen. Time for the challenge. This challenge, try experimenting with pressure on the Apple Pencil using a 6B pencil brush and then a Marilla brush under the drawing section. Pick a brush at a medium size and try the strokes I tried earlier. First, do some strokes quickly. Then do a light stroke to a heavy stroke, stopping on the heavy stroke. Then do the opposite, a heavy stroke stopping on a light stroke. A light stroke with heavy in the middle, and then a light stroke. Finally, try the pencil at a small angle. Switch your brush and try the Marilla brush under drawing. See the differences in the brush responses to an Apple Pencil. The goal is get used to using a stylus like the Apple Pencil. In our next lesson, you'll find a stylus works a lot better than your finger as we learn about tracing images. Make sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss this lesson that will blow your mind and change how you look at the world forever.